good morning. So I'm here on day 2 and we are painting. So like I mentioned last night, I did the edges with a paintbrush. I made sure that I did 2 coats along the baseboard trim, mostly because I want to be able to paint the trim today, and that's going to allow me to do that. So what I'm doing now is just rolling out the walls. I'm likely going to do 2 coats everywhere, so I'm just going to plan for that. I use these Purdy Power Lock poles. This is the 2 foot to 4 foot. This is the one I used for the ceiling. It's a 4 to 8. I like these quite a bit. There's a release here if you use the Purdy rollers that you can just kind of pop these off and go from one to another. So generally what I'll do is kind of extend this out, start at the top, go all the way across the top, and then I can lower it down and do the bottom part. I have 10-foot ceilings here, but even with a 4-foot pole, I can pretty easily do the whole thing. All right, so you can see the color choice is a gray. I think it looks pretty good. It's a light gray. So now I'm gonna go in and just cut in the tops of the walls, these corners, and just kind of get all of that going while I'm waiting for the paint to dry. While I'm waiting for the paint to dry, I'm going to get the fan ready and get it hung. So here I'm attaching the blades. Each one of them has 3 Phillips screws that I put in with a number 2 Phillips. Next we have to remove the pin and the set screw in the connection to the down tube. They give you a lot of cable here. This is because you can have a variety of down tube lengths. In my case, I'm only using an 8-inch down tube. They go up to several feet depending on how high your ceilings are. That might work for you. Here I'm going to feed it through the hat that covers the motor hardware, and then I'm going to feed it through the down tube and the trim ring that goes near the ceiling. Now that we have the wire threaded through the down tube, we're threading the down tube into the base of the fan where the motor is attached. So you just screw it in, and then there is a set screw that tightens it down and locks it into place. Sorry about the camera angle here. So there is a mounting fork that needs to be screwed to the ceiling. This screws into the junction box that the fan hangs off of, or into studs that are around the hole in the ceiling if you do not have a junction box there. This is a black metal part. It has a fork that looks like a half circle on the bottom of it, and unfortunately I had my camera set too low and I don't really show it here. On top of the down tube there is a what I would describe as a half circle that kind of sits inside this fork. So you can see me setting it into the fork here, and it just will kind of hang and float freely. It's a ball in a like a rounded fork. Now we're going to start wiring the fan. On the fan there are 2 grounds. There is a hot and a neutral. The hot and the neutral are going to run through the remote control module if you have it, which I do. So there's a ground on the drop tube, and there's also a ground on the mount that hangs from the ceiling. So we'll get that connected first, and then we'll work on the module that controls this by remote control. I'm kind of in the way here, but once we get the ground connected, we can start wiring in the module. The module has a hot and neutral in and a hot and neutral out. Very simple, 4 wires. You connect it to the house side first and then connect it to the fan side. Once you get the module wired up, you can tuck it up into the upper bezel. It slides into the mount that hangs from the ceiling. And then the upper bezel does a 1/4 turn connection onto the screws that are in the upper mount. And there's just a trim ring to tighten up here, and we are good to go. Now we can see our finished product. I really like this fan. It's a Minka Aire, and it came from Lamps Plus. I'll put a link in the description. It's not an affiliate link, so I don't get any kickback for you buying it, but I did really like the build quality. The overall construction is about a $300 fan. This is one of 2 sizes that they make. This is the 52-inch length. The fan includes a remote control, or at least I added it on to the fan. It was an option in the site. So I have a remote control that allows me to set speeds 1, 2, and 3. I also have a wall switch that turns the fan on and off. If I have the fan set to speed 2, for example, and I turn the fan off, it stays on speed 2 when I turn it back on. So I've got a couple of options here on how to control it. The wireless remote works really well. The only thing is the module for the receiver is a little on the large side, so it was kind of hard to tuck up into that upper box. But once you get it in there, it looks good and you're all done with it. Alright, now that I'm done with the fan, the ceiling's painted, I'm going to be installing the lights. These are DMF DRD2s. They are a floodlight, so it's a wide range. I'll put a link in the description again to the product that I used, or at least a part number. These came from Obsessed Garage. I also have the M housing trim rings. So you take the light itself, it comes with a pigtail, it's a 2-wire pigtail. We're going to take that and we're going to wire it into the neutral and hot wire that are up in my case. In this case, I'm using Wago connectors, which are a more European style of connector. I like them better than normal wire nuts. So we're going to cut the wires to a normal length. We're going to strip the wires, and we're going to connect them to the pigtails that DMF gives us in the box. Here you can see I've got my pigtail connected. Now all that's left is the ground wire. The DMF light itself has the ground connected to it, so we're going to connect that with a Wago also to the ground wire that's inside the box. We're going to plug it into the pigtail that I pre-wired, and then we will be good to get this installed. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the trim ring, part number in the description, and this comes out of the box and it attaches to the light engine with a 1/4 turn. So it just kind of snaps into place with a 1/4 turn, and this has some clips that are spring-loaded on the side of it. So it just pushes right up into the can, and it gives you a nice firm fit, and it goes right into place, just like that. And now we are good to go. We'll wipe off any fingerprints or maybe marks that I might have had on the white housing, and then we will test it out. Okay, and our light works. Right now we just have it connected to a simple on-off switch that was already in the wall. It's just a Legrand toggle. Next we're going to get it connected to a Lutron dimmer. I will again put a link in the description, or a part number in the description, for you to look at the dimmer that is compatible with these DMF lights. Alright, for the dimmer we're going to be using a Lutron Maestro MA Pro. This is compatible with the DMF lights. It's a pretty simple switch to wire up. There is a line side and a load side. Something to note about dimming switches, they do need a connection to a neutral wire as well. So here I'm connecting the load. The line is connected already to the other side and connected to the wire nut that has all of the other hot wires. We're tightening this down with a Phillips screwdriver. Just be careful when you're connecting wires to switches. And if you're not comfortable with electricity, then you probably shouldn't be doing this yourself. But you want to make sure that the wire goes in a clockwise fashion around the screws so that when you're tightening down the screw, it sucks the wire into the screw. So you can see the ground wire that I have hanging off of here, as well as the neutral wire that is coming off of the back. Next, I need to connect those. The old switch did not have a neutral, nor did it have a ground. So I'm pulling out the bundle of neutrals that's already in this 2-gang box. We're going to remove the existing wire nut. We're going to connect to it, and we're going to install a larger wire nut in that one's place. Here we have the wires connected. We're putting on a larger wire nut. I don't really love wire nuts, but in this box they already existed, so rather than switch everything over to Wagos, I'm just going to continue using them. It's tough to stuff all of the wire in the box. I apologize again for the camera angle here, but I'm just trying to tuck everything in. And now we're going to install our fan switch. This is just a simple on-off Leviton Claro or Lutron Claro. It's got a hot side and a line side, so we're just reconnecting the wires that came off of the old switch so that this one will match the other new switch, the Maestro that I installed, and be the same color and the same glossy finish. It can be hard to stuff all of the wires in the box. Just be careful that, obviously you should have the circuit breaker off. You shouldn't be able to electrocute yourself. You want these switches to go in so that they are flush with the wall. If they're angled one way or another, then when you put the trim rings on for the Claro faceplate, you're going to have the switches look cockeyed. The Claro doesn't really torque them one way or another. So now that the Claro is on, we can snap on the faceplate and we can see that it works and do our testing. So we've got our MA Plus, which has its adjustable dimming, single touch on to whatever your last setting was, double touch to the highest amount, and then a single touch off. And then the left switch is just a single toggle switch on off for our fan. I think the Claro covers look great. They are a glossy white. They're easy to keep clean, and I think that they finish off really, really nice. Got the second coat of paint done, decided to hang the TV mount. So this is an Echo Gear. It came from Amazon. It uses a 13mm bolt. I put it in with my torque gun into the studs that are in the wall. I like this mount because it has a 24-inch wide mounting pattern, so even if you're on 16s, you can still favor it one side or the other. It works very well, it's low profile, and it holds the TV well. Finally, I fished 3 HDMI cables and an optical through the wall for the TV. Part 3 coming soon.